Okay guys, back to manufacturing, and in this particular question now, you are given information and you are asked to show the factory overheads calculation. And remember, I spoke about the brackets extensively. I'm going to actually show you how we use the brackets and how you are expected to use the brackets in your answers tomorrow. Okay, so here we go. Let's take the first adjustment, and it says, water and electricity for February. Your water and electricity for February 2019, 18,000 Rand, must be taken into account. 80% is allocated to the factory. The balance is an administration cost. Okay, now we want to do that calculation. So immediately you go to your answer book, right? You bring in your water and electricity, bring in the figure that's given to you as a starting figure, 248,000. Okay, so here we go. There's my 248,000, right? And I'm told there's an amount of 18,000 Rand that has not been paid for and hasn't been recorded. So I bring it in. I add the 18,000 Rand to it. Okay, once I do that, okay, let's do that. We've got the 248,000. 248,000 plus my 18,000, right? It will give me that figure times the 80%, and you get a figure of 212,800. So obviously, here goes. You can see there's my figure of 212,800. Now, obviously, there's various ways in which you can work this out. So don't try and work it out in more ways than one, like the memos suggest. Whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you're okay with, that's the method that you use. So what have we done? We've taken the 248,000, which was a given figure in my given information. I added the 18,000 because it was not recorded, and then I took 80% of that figure to give me the figure that I'm looking for, the 212,800. Okay. Before we go on to our adjustments, you must identify items here that will go into your note for factory overheads. For example, there's my indirect labor. How much? 296,500. Therefore, 296,500 for indirect labor. Check, and what you do is, as you are working, once you dealt with it, delete it, so you know it's done and dusted. The next one is your depreciation of your factory plant. 166,000, immediately you go here, slot it in 166,000. So obviously those are items that did not require adjustments. So you took them as is from the information that was given to you from your extract of your pre-adjustment amounts on the 28th of February. Right, the next one we are told is that rent must be allocated according to the floor area, right? Okay, so what is the floor area? They're telling you 810 square meters for the factory, 180 square meters for the office, and the sales department has 90 square meters. So the first thing that you do here is add the three floor areas. What are they? Let's pick them up here. 810. It's 810. 810 square meters for the factory, right? Then you got your office at 180 for the office, and 90, I think it was, for the where's our slide gone to? There we go. Our 90 was for our sales department, so therefore we go there and we say 90 for our sales department. Add all of this up, it should give you 1080. Let's just check if that is correct. Right? Okay. Now, once you have that as your floor area, right? The number of square meters for the total building. In other words, your total building has a total floor area of 1,080 square meters. Now, you want to know what portion of that is applicable Or what portion of that must be apportioned to the factory? Obviously, it's the 810 because that was my factory. So I say 810 over 1080. And here, guys, watch. Here's my calculation. You take your factory rental, which was 345,600 times 810 over 1080. And I showed you how I got the 1080, right? And once you do that calculation, you get a figure of 259,200. So the important part of this calculation is to identify the total floor space and then the factory component, multiply it times 810 over the total floor area of 1080. Right, the next adjustment was, you are told that 75% of the insurance must be allocated to the factory. The balance applies to the sales department. Okay, now be careful. You are told here that insurance allocated to the sales department was 12,600. Okay? This means therefore, watch this here. If we have 12,600 as the sales department, okay? Now, this calculation is very important, guys. You are told that 75% of the insurance must be allocated to the factory. The balance applies to the sales department. So in other words, your sales department, as you can see here, was 12,600. So therefore, the 12,600 is equal to 25%. Why am I saying that? Because the insurance figure that was given to me, right? The insurance figure that was given to me was specific insurance allocated to sales. Insurance allocated to sales was 12,600. Therefore, when you are doing your calculation, it is important for you to note that that's the 12,600 is equal to 25%. You can say 75% is equal to the unknown, cross multiply, and what you're going to get is the answer that you are looking for here. Right? There we go. Can you see? 12,600 times 75 over 25 would give you the amount that is applicable to the factory, which is your 37,800. So the calculation here is important. Once you've got the calculation done, then you can actually, now what you needed to see here was that the 12,600 was only 25% of the amount. It was not your total amount. And therefore, you had to go back and work out your 75%, which was applicable to the factory. That calculation is important. Once you have that calculation, you bring in your factory sundry expenses, and that will then give you your total factory overheads. Now remember, once again, if you bring in an item like advertising into your factory overheads, because remember, it's given to you. Let's illustrate it so you can see it there. There we go. Advertising has absolutely nothing to do with the factory. Remember, it's a selling and distribution cost. And if you bring it into the factory overhead note, it will not only be marked wrong, but will also be marked as a negative. Can you see here? -1 foreign item advertising. So we don't want that to happen, guys. Please make sure that you check properly when you're going through the items that all of them relate to the factory.